Aspen University, CJ140, Introduction to Criminology. My name's Andre Rosedale, and I'm the instructor for this course. This is Module 6, Discussion Question 2, which reads, Gary Potter's assessment of dealing with organized crime and the attempt to eliminate it involves a reduction in the products of organized crime. If we can reduce or eliminate the consumer's demand of the products of organized crime, we can't control organized crime. Is this possible? Many have made the same argument about prostitution. I like this question. So when you get into the book, it starts with at page 234 on the electronic version, and it's learning outcome number 9. It says, describe what can be done to combat organized crime. And in the first paragraph, it talks about punishing the consumer. It says, to quote, any effective attack on organized crime, therefore, would involve either meeting or eliminating the demands of the consumer of organized crime's products and services. So, and it gets into like fighting corruption in politics and law enforcement personnel. That is a different question, I think, in itself. You're not going to take corruption out of politics, and in police work, you're not going to do that either because police officers are human, but you can deal with corrupt police officers swiftly and make very noticeable examples out of them by taking their careers away and making sure they can work nowhere else in the criminal justice system. I am very vehemently opposed to rehabilitation for dirty cops. So Gary talks about, getting back on the subject, Gary talks about meeting or eliminating the demands of the consumers of organized crimes. Years ago, I was a volunteer speaker for a group called Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. They still exist. They have redesigned and minted themselves. I left about 5 years ago in 2014 or 2015. My job as a law enforcement officer would to go around and talk about how I thought the war on drugs was a failure. And this could get into a very lengthy lecture, but instead I'm going to put some things out there and we can make this a very deep discussion. But what I would do is I would go and I would talk about how the war on drugs was formed by Nixon in the 70s. It's just basically a fear tool for politics, and how the drug trade is based on organized crime, the black market, which more importantly brings about violence to innocent people, drive-by shootings, neighborhoods that are overwhelmed, that kind of thing. And that if we legalized drugs and controlled them, there was an opportunity that it is the belief of the people that I associated with and myself that if you legalized marijuana, for example, you would get a better product. It would be taxed. You could use that tax money to help addicts and other drug issues. And you could also take away a lot of law enforcement money that is spent on the war on drugs, which has done absolutely nothing but increased greatly. And some of our argument is safe needle injection sites that started in Europe. They're in Canada now. Massachusetts has them. Portugal has decriminalized just about everything, and Switzerland and Sweden have done this with safe injection sites. Overdose deaths went down to 0. Addictions went down. Unemployment amongst addicts went down. And we believe it's a better thing. And there's an interesting documentary that you can watch on this called "The House I Live In," and I am going to I'm going to leave that citation in the description of this video on YouTube. If you want to look at minimum mandatory sentencing and the war on drugs and how it's a failure, I suggest you watch that. So me trying to encapsulate a very long discussion, a very long lecture into this, I'd like to say that going with Gary Potter, if you could meet the needs of the consumers of the organized black market crimes, products, and services, you could eliminate that and eliminate the violence. I would like to know what you think. It doesn't necessarily have to be, do you think we should legalize marijuana? But what do you think about legalizing things that we have made, that we have criminalized? Prostitution, um, untaxed cigarettes, cigarettes not sold in a package, marijuana, um, under the table gambling so that someone doesn't get a cut. What do you think about things that the government has deemed to be illegal that have bred black market black markets to feed them? Let me know what you think.